Hello and welcome to Happily Ever Reality. I am so glad that you're here. Today we're talking about Sister Wives, Season 17, Episode 11. Before we get started, I just want to remind you guys in the comments, be sure not to talk about the minor children on this show, in a negative way. We don't want to pick on them. They didn't choose to be on this show, and I am so happy that my childhood isn't being aired on television. So go easy on the kids. We don't want to talk about them in a negative way. And number two, remember not to talk about anything that would make you end up in a cop car or a correctional facility. I know sometimes we are really frustrated with a particular person on this show, and you think, oh, if we met them in person, we would throw tomatoes at them or whatever it is. But if it would put you in a cop car or a correctional facility, you should probably just say it out loud or think it in your head and not put it on the internet. So be sure to keep those things in mind when you're putting comments about this show. So let's just go ahead and get started. So the show starts out with Janelle going over to Christine's home. And the thing is, Janelle hasn't really talked to Christine since they had the meeting at Christine's house with the whole family. So there is a lot to talk about. Janelle and Christine start by talking about how they were surprised by Cody's anger. And I have to tell you, I thought that was a little odd because as a viewer, when I was watching Cody in previous episodes, I could tell there was some anger that was bottled up. If he didn't act like this on TV, I would have thought there was probably a moment where he did this in private, where he just sort of exploded because he seemed to be kind of bottling it up, like he was controlling all of it. But you could tell there was going to be a time where he couldn't anymore, or at least that's how I felt. They also talk about how some of the things that were said were, a little bit hurtful for Mary and Robyn, like where Christine says she needs some space. It seems like Christine might have not realized that Robyn was also talking about her own kids, like Christine doesn't want to see them too. So there might have been some hurt feelings that Christine didn't expect. I don't know if I'm explaining that correctly. I think she wasn't thinking about Robyn's kids during the conversation while Robyn was thinking of her own kids. So there was a little bit of hurt there that Christine might have not realized was happening, and she talks about that with Janelle.
And, after the conversation, I realized she was talking about her kids too.
I just think that's anything. I think in life, anytime you have a conversation with someone where you're talking about something that is super complex or there's a lot of emotion behind, you look back and go, oh, I didn't mean it that way, or I wish I would have said more. I think that's normal. I think that about this show sometimes. Like I'll get comments and I'll realize, oh, maybe I didn't explain myself very well. It's just the way life is. So I realized that Christine may feel bad, but you know what? She could always shoot Robyn a text if she really feels like she needs to, apologize, or not even apologize, just clarify what she meant. I don't know that she'll do that, but it's not off the table to still communicate with her.
When I was questioning Christine about whether or not she wanted to have relationships with those that she doesn't have relationships with, I meant me and my kids.
Now, I have to be honest, as a viewer, I completely knew that was what Robyn was talking about when she asked. Like, I'm not surprised that Robyn might have had her feelings hurt. I thought Christine knew, so I'm actually a little bit more surprised that Christine didn't understand that. Janelle and Christine start talking about their own relationship with each other, and it's clear that Janelle is feeling torn. Here is a good friend of hers, and then also this good friend is her husband's ex-wife now. You guys, it's easy to say, you know what, Janelle, don't worry about what Cody says, you hardly ever see him. But the reality is he is still her husband. And I try to imagine what it would be like in this situation to be best friends with my husband's recently separated or divorced ex-wife. I can't even figure out how I would navigate that if I wanted to continue to be friends. I think there would need to be space there. Hey, I need a little room. My husband's dealing with a divorce from you. I don't know. This is tough. And I know our instinct, because most of us side with Janelle over Cody and Christine over Cody. So our instinct is to say, hey, you know what? Who cares? My thing is she just doesn't see him that often. So why should she worry about him? That's always what my go-to with Janelle is. But this is a weird situation that they're going to have to try to figure out. So Janelle is going to have to think about how much she wants to maintain her marriage and keep the peace with Cody.
I don't know what label to put on mine and Janelle's relationship. I don't know.
I don't know. The sister wife thing, I just don't know.
I don't think they need to worry so much about labels. I think they can just say they're friends now. Like, I don't think they need to worry about it. But I do think that this is going to be a bigger issue for Janelle, because we know that if Janelle maintains a relationship for Cody, Cody is going to see that as a betrayal. And Christine's not going to have that now. Cody's gone, so she can call whoever she wants. But I think this is a little bit of a harder situation for Janelle. You know, Christine and Cody may be the ones separating, but then when it comes to Janelle and Christine's relationship, Janelle is sort of the one facing a harder time now. They end up interjecting a confessional of Cody, and he is talking about how he always wanted his wives to be close, but that just wasn't the case.
Now, after all these years, and Christine trash-talking Janelle for 4 years about the one house thing, now Janelle and Christine have a better relationship?
So Cody is talking about the change in the relationship of Christine and Janelle. And it's interesting because earlier in this episode, when Janelle and Christine are talking, Janelle says, we used to say really harsh things about each other. You know, so clearly they see that there has been a change and there's going to be a change, you know. So their relationship, their friendship is going to continue to change. But it's hard for Cody because Cody remembers the times they didn't get along.
I'm begging Janelle for a closer relationship. It feels like she's rejecting that and just choosing to have one with Christine.
Do you guys think that he is begging Janelle for a closer relationship? I don't at all. And I don't think Christine has any part of that. He's just looking for a reason to be angry now. I don't think he's begging her for a closer relationship.
I don't know how to not be on a side or be perceived as being on a side.
And that right there is the issue. I don't actually think there's any other issue with Janelle and Christine's relationship after this divorce. It's just Cody and what he thinks. Janelle continues to talk about how even her own children are feeling conflicted because they want to spend time with Christine, but they don't want to look like they're choosing sides. And then the whole issue comes up, the holidays. Who will they spend the holidays with? Honestly, it sounds like Janelle would prefer to spend the holidays with Christine and Christine's children, but then she knows it's going to be perceived that she chose a side. So the whole holiday thing is just coming right back up. They move on to talking about Truly, and the plan was to have Truly go over to Robyn's house and spend the weekend. And every time she has to get a COVID test. I'm just like, we are so far past a weekly COVID test, in my opinion. It's crazy. But Cody says she can have a weekly COVID test and come over. But then Truly goes over and doesn't spend the weekend. She only ends up spending a few hours. So there's this issue of how often and when will Truly be able to see Cody.
I don't think she would last the whole summer. I don't even know if she'd last a weekend because she's never spent the night away from me.
So I don't think any of us are surprised by this. We knew this was going to be an issue. It sounds like it's a little bit, an issue of Truly being away from Christine. And I'm sure there's issues with feeling comfortable at Robyn's and with Cody. So I'm not surprised. And I don't think anyone who watches this show would be surprised by this either. So they have a moment where Cody talks about seeing Truly, and he says he just doesn't have all the answers yet. I know it can be a little hard on Cody when it comes to seeing his kids, but I will say this is a tough situation if Truly struggles to spend time away from Christine. Like there might be some other issues that are not completely Cody's fault here, but he's going to have to make the effort, and I know Cody's ability to make effort in anything can be very limited. So we'll just see how that goes. They move on to talking about Christine getting married. Christine says she does want to get married one day. And Janelle says that she thinks she should because, Christine she's only 50. She has years and years of life left. She should be happy. I did want to throw in this before I move on, though. I thought this was really funny.
Do you think you'll remarry?
Somebody else, not Cody.
I just thought that was really funny and I wanted to throw it in there. But from here we move over to Janelle being back at Coyote Pass, and Cody is coming over to just deal with some of the issues with the RV and start talking a little bit about the winter. And I have to tell you something. When this was all happening and I was watching them work on the RV, all I kept thinking was, you know what? Even though this isn't fun and it isn't romantic, it's still time together, and maybe this is helping their relationship. So I was watching this and thinking that, and Cody says this.
But when we're working on it together, it's not like we're just being sweet with each other. It's a little antagonistic.
I've always heard that parking RVs and dealing with them can be a little bit complicated and frustrating. So I was disappointed to hear that their relationship wasn't getting better. Even though I make comments about Janelle leaving Cody, I don't root for anyone to get a divorce. Like, if they can be happy and make it work, then great. I would love for them to do that, but I think there's a part of me that thinks it would almost be impossible. But I did have hope that the RV might be something that was bringing them together. They talk a little bit more about how Cody feels like he didn't know a lot about the RV purchase before it happened, and Janelle is sure that she told him. So there's just that issue of how much does Cody listen to Janelle when she's talking. So just the normal stuff, but I'll throw in a clip here.
We never had a really deep discussion, not the kind of discussion you have about spending that vast amount of money.
So that is Cody's side of the story, and then here is Janelle's side of the story. We've heard it before. She always talks about how Cody doesn't really pay attention, or how sometimes he seems to be zoned out of what's actually happening. So here is her side of the story.
I know I had told him I was thinking about the possibility of an RV. Maybe he just wasn't paying attention.
There's nothing new there to me. Like, nothing that Janelle and Cody say during this scene is new to me. I think it's the same old stuff we hear from the two of them. But this time, Janelle does have something to say. She is making some more plans about moving, and she decides to tell Cody, and she wants to be really sure that he is listening.
Look, let me have this conversation with you now.
I feel like she did that to make sure that he was listening and that he was extra aware that she wanted him to listen. Like, I thought that was deliberate. She wants to make sure he has his ears tuned into her.
If I just go for 6 months into town and just come back out here in April, because by then we will probably be breaking ground, I would think.
So what has happened is Janelle no longer wants to stay out there for the winter. Things haven't went the way she expected. There's no electricity, and the house isn't coming along as quickly as she thought it would be. So she's wanting to go stay in a rental, and this definitely frustrates Cody. He feels like she's kind of flipping and going the other way, and sort of like, why didn't you just do this to begin with?
So she's talking about going to an apartment. She's going to pick a place. She's going to do it without me. She's going to figure something out like that. Like, she's already got a place that she knows about. Okay?
So I always side with Janelle making decisions, not because I don't think Cody should be involved, but because Cody chooses not to be involved enough. And I feel for Janelle. If she's trying to make a life choice and she has to wait for someone to show up every fourth day, every week, once a month, there's just a point that you go, okay, I need to do what I need to do, and I'm not waiting for you. So I think that Janelle has gotten to a point where she now just does it automatically. She doesn't really include Cody. I can tell that he's frustrated, but if he wants to make a change, if he wants to change that, he needs to sit down and really discuss that with her and say, hey, you know what, in the past it's been like this, but I don't want to do that moving forward. I want to be a part of the decisions. It matters to me. I want to be there. I just don't know that Cody will do that, and he's expecting her to just like all of a sudden include him in every choice. And what upsets me is that he doesn't seem to understand why she acts so independent and does things on her own. I completely understand why Janelle doesn't wait around for Cody.
Why are we in this now?
Because, Cody, for 4 months I've accomplished a lot.
We could have focused on the property without having an RV and living in an RV.
So there's two things to consider here. One is it didn't go as planned for Janelle. She had the best of intentions and it didn't work out. When she got that RV, she thought she would stay there. She did not understand all of the obstacles that she was going to face. So I don't think Janelle, I just don't think she understood what it was going to be like. So Cody is frustrated by that, and I can actually understand Cody's frustration. Like, I hear what he's saying, and I do get it. Like, you didn't have to get this RV. You could have been building out here and renting a place the whole time. But I think Janelle just really wanted the RV experience. So I get both sides. It was just a very expensive mistake if you view it that way. I'm trying to see the bright side. I think Janelle wants to kind of do this RV camping thing. I'm like, okay, so she purchased a camper. Like, now she can go on trips, right? Right? What do you guys think? This one's a little bit tough for me because I do see Cody's point here.
Basically decided what I needed to do for me. And I just sort of decided and I did it, and he sort of had to be along for the ride. But if I would have waited for him to solve the problem, it never would have gotten solved.
So that is Janelle basically saying what I always say and what many of you say in the comments. Like, she can't just wait around for him to make choices, though the RV was a big one. What do you guys think about that? What do you think? Are you siding with Cody? Was this all a mistake? Or do you think Janelle should have still went ahead and gotten it? I know there was a lot of different opinions about whether the truck should have been purchased. A lot of people didn't think she should have bought the truck. So let me know what you guys think about this. Should she go back into town? Was the RV a mistake? Let me know in the comments. We move from Janelle over to Christine, and we're at her house. We see Christine telling Truly that they're going to be moving in 1 week. And this is much sooner than Truly thought, and even Christine had thought. Their plan was originally to stay in the home in Flagstaff until closing, but they were able to get a house back in Utah and be in it and start moving in 1 week. So this is news to Truly. This is something she didn't expect. You can tell there's some sadness there. I'm not going to show any clips for 2 reasons. One, that pretty much sums it all up. And 2, sometimes I don't like seeing the younger kids emotional on the show and dealing with big changes in their lives, and it's all televised. So I'm not going to add another layer by putting it in a YouTube video. So that is it though. Truly is finding out that she's moving in 1 week. So the show jumps from Christine to a scene where there is Mykelti, Tony, their daughter, Robyn, Cody, and Solomon and Ari, and they're all meeting just to get together and spend time together. We have to remember that Mykelti feels really close to Robyn because she lived with her for a while. So she does view Robyn as a mom. So they're trying to maintain that relationship even though the divorce is happening.
Even though I know that I have 100% support from Mykelti, I know that she also supports Robyn 100%. She can balance like nobody I know.
Isn't it interesting that the one adult child we see spending time with Cody is the one that feels the closest to Robyn? What do you guys think about that? I have a little theory that this is more a Robyn and Mykelti meeting than it is one about Cody. I think that Cody just wants to spend time with the kids who like Robyn. You know, when Christine said she felt like she was in trouble for not being as nice as she should be to the favorite wife, I feel like the preferred kids are the ones that are super nice to the favorite wife. Robyn tells Mykelti and Tony that she loves them and she wants to maintain a relationship with all of Cody's children, and it doesn't matter what the relationship is with, that wife. She wants to still be close with the kids. Cody starts asking questions. He started to go into territory I don't think he should have, but he does end up stopping himself. I'm going to throw in, though, the question he asks Mykelti.
How long have you guys known?
That is such a huge issue for Cody that he didn't know first and that the kids might have known. I don't think Christine went and said, hey, I'm leaving Cody on such and such date or such and such month. I think she was just venting. And that is what Mykelti tells him. Like, they all knew there were problems because she was just talking about the highs and lows of the relationship. I don't think Christine was deliberately giving a date and a time and a year for the separation. I just think she was venting and everyone knew there were issues. But what do you guys think? Does Cody have the right to be angry about everyone knowing before him? Or do you think this is just naturally how it happens? I lean a little bit more on that. I think the only negative was that she was venting to her children. Maybe she should have reached out to friends and the kids should have came later. But we really don't know. Maybe the kids were later, but Cody's really caught up on the timeline of who knew when.
I know that I can't talk Christine to my kids. I don't want to talk her at all, even though that's my natural urge is to do that. I have to control that because that's not fair.
That might be the smartest thing that Cody Brown has ever said, and I hope that he is able to refrain from talking about Christine because the relationships with these adult children are already so strained. He might say the one thing that would trigger one of them to actually tell him what they think about how he was as a father and a husband, and we know that Cody doesn't take criticism well. So that might be something that would just completely sever the relationship. So I think Cody's really going to have to refrain. He's going to have to stop himself from talking about Christine if he wants to have any relationship with these kids. He's fortunate that Mykelti was able to answer that question and not get upset. She could have responded by saying, hey, Dad, don't even talk to me about Mom. But she didn't. She actually answered and sort of had a discussion about it. I don't think this scene was super eventful. I don't think it was important to any storyline. Mykelti and Tony sort of chit-chat in a confessional about how they think people would find out that you're going to divorce, like what order people should know. who would know first and who would know last, because that seems to be an issue with Cody. So they do discuss it a little bit more. I do want to put in a scene where Robyn talks about the relationship that she wants to have with the wives and the kids.
I am open and interested in a relationship with any of the kids or wives that want one. It's what I've always wanted.
I don't actually have strong feelings about Robyn and her relationships with the other wives. I just think the effort for everyone to have any relationships in this family is pretty low. I don't think anyone is putting in a lot of work here, but I could be wrong. However, I know based on the comments that a lot of you have very strong opinions about Robyn. So let me know, do you guys think she really tries to have good relationships with the other wives? Do you think she puts effort in? So yeah, let me know in the comments what you guys think about her statement there. After the meeting at Robyn's house ends, we kind of fast forward to the next day, and Mykelti and Tony are at Christine's house. They're helping her move. Garrison and Gwendolyn are also there, so they're just packing up. Nothing super eventful. Christine is emotional when she talks about leaving the home, and she seems really sad when she talks about the bedroom, because she mentions that Cody really loved that room, and he loved the view, and he wanted that to be the bedroom for them. And I just feel like it makes her think about happier times. So I think there is this sadness that anyone would have if you're leaving your home and getting a divorce, but nothing super eventful. Mykelti does ask Christine if there are any plans to get together to say goodbye, and Christine says no, but Mykelti, she's not satisfied with that, so she decides to plan a get together on her own, and she just invites everyone to come over and say goodbye. So before I say anything else, I want to point something out. My video is hitting 22 minutes, and when this scene started, I was like, no, I've talked too much again. Like, I want to spend more time on this scene, and I've already been talking so much. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through this, point out some of the highlights, but I'm actually going to make another video. It'll be shorter, where we just talk about the get together that they have at Christine's, because there's a lot to talk about here. However, if you want to leave more in the comments or point out things, go ahead and do it. But I do hope you come back for the follow-up video where we break down the scenes and the moments at the get together, because there was a lot to talk about. But what ends up happening is everyone comes over to Christine's house during the evening, and we see Robyn, Cody, and their children show up in one car. Janelle shows up with her children, or her children show up on their own. They don't really show that part. Mary is not there, and Mary says that she was out of town and she thinks it's just going to be awkward. And I'm like, good call, Mary, because this is incredibly awkward. I don't think this was a good idea at all. I think Mykelti's heart is in the right spot, but after the meeting they had, that needed to be the end for the adults, in my opinion. There needs to be some time where they don't really see each other a whole lot, just to like let everything settle. But of course, Mykelti wasn't there, and I think her heart is just saying like, remind everyone that we're a family. But man, this meeting is so awkward.
My mom's honestly upset that I'm pushing her so much to have people come over and say goodbye, because my mom wants to be done, but I think that she'll regret it if she doesn't get a goodbye.
I wanted to add that clip in. That is Mykelti talking about pushing for this goodbye get together. I just don't think Mykelti is right here. I think Mykelti hasn't been a part of everything that's happened, so she doesn't know the conversations that have went on. I think she should have just sort of listened to her mom here. There was no reason to push for any more awkward moments or tense moments. She should have just had Janelle over and Janelle's kids, and that should have been the end of it. So I don't know. I feel like I missed a lot of years of Mykelti growing up because I didn't watch the show all the time. I would have to go back and do a rewatch. So if you guys have any comments about Mykelti, put them down below in the comment section. I will definitely be reading them. I just feel like there's something here that, I don't know, she's just missing the mark. So is there something about Mykelti's personality, aside from trying to be a peacekeeper and having balance that Christine says she has, is there anything else about Mykelti that I might not know?
Very apparent how awkward we all are, but Janelle and her kids are on one side and Robyn and Cody are on the other, and none of us want to be here.
I don't know how I feel about Mykelti pressuring Christine to do this. You can hear Christine there talking about it after it happens. Like, no one wanted to be there, but I think Christine knew that she didn't want this to happen. I understand that Mykelti's young, but I wish she would have listened to her mom a little bit more. I don't think her mom's going to regret that it didn't happen. I think her mom is going to have more regrets to that this meeting and this goodbye took place. So if you haven't watched this episode, basically the meeting is all of them just standing outside. There's no food, there's no appetizers, there's no games, there's nothing to distract people. That's what I'm sort of saying. They're all just standing and staring at each other, and clearly they are divided, and I'm not surprised by the divide. But what does surprise me is we're still following COVID protocols. Cody was just at a wedding. We just watched it, last episode, the one before? Cody is dancing all over the dance floor. Now, when it's time to say goodbye to Christine, they can't approach each other and give each other hugs. They have to stand 6 feet apart. It's ridiculous. I don't have an issue with people wanting to stand 6 feet apart and all of that, but what I have an issue with is how far we are removed from when COVID began, how they all could have just put some masks on and stood near each other. And also, more importantly, they don't follow these rules all the time. They only follow them when they want to. But here's my question for you guys before I end this. Do you think Cody is enforcing the protocols here, or do you think Robyn is enforcing the protocols here? Why can't the family stand together when they say goodbye to Christine? What is the deal? Why are they still standing 6 feet apart here when we know Cody just took a trip to a wedding? Did everyone at the wedding do a COVID test so that Cody could attend? No, I don't think so. So what is happening here? Not only are there protocols that don't make sense, it's incredibly awkward, but you have some really unhappy kids, and you can tell by the facial expressions on Robyn's oldest daughters. They're either sad or angry. I really can't identify what emotion they're feeling, but it is clear they're not happy. And Ari starts asking some questions. She wants to know why Christine is leaving, and Christine explains that Cody and her are just not in love anymore, and Ari recommends that they go on dates. Now, I think Ari's question was completely innocent, but I have to wonder about the comments that are going on within Robyn's home. I want to know what Robyn and Cody are saying about this, because even though Cody practices self-control on the show with Janelle and Christine's kids, I do wonder when he is at home with Robyn's children what he's saying about Christine. So it is just an incredibly awkward meeting. It sort of ends. Christine cries. Yeah, there's a lot to break down. So again, I'm going to do another video. I hope you come back for it. I'm going to end it here. Please leave any comments that you want about anything in this episode, because I love to read them. And if you haven't already, click like and subscribe, and come back to Happily Ever Reality to hear more about your favorite reality TV shows.